So tomorrow, May 3rd, we have the FOMC make its rate decision. Now, this is most likely the most important meeting for the entire year. Now, I want to go ahead and clarify why exactly, right? So back in January, right, there was conversations that the Fed was going to hike an additional 25 basis points and that by May, they were going to pause. And then after the pause, they were going to start cutting. Now, in previous videos, I had mentioned that, hey, if the scenario were to happen, this would be very bullish for the stock market. We'd see Tesla stock go upwards. I mean, this would be great news for the stock market. However, it wouldn't really be great news for the economy because, of course, inflation is just out of control. However, one thing I do want to mention is that, although that is a bullish scenario, is the likelihood of that scenario going to happen? Well, we'll find out tomorrow, as in tomorrow's meeting, it will really solidify the direction that the Federal Reserve wants to go. And, my, predictions on this, right? I don't try to just trade and make trades based off, my predictions. Obviously I wait to see what happens, but I am 99.99% sure that the Federal Reserve is going to hike an additional 25 basis points, right? Now, there's this meme going out online that it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of scary that I thought I'd share with you guys. So over here, we have this guy who is the Fed, and he has two difficult decisions, right? Two red buttons. On one hand, he could lower rates, right? Which would cause inflation to continue rising, definitely not good. And then the dollar to weaken, definitely not good as well. And then on the other hand, we could raise rates, which would tame inflation, but it's just gonna blow up the banking sector and the overall economy. So it's definitely a difficult decision for the Fed to make. Now, I wanted you guys to take a look at Tesla stock from a wider perspective. And one thing that you are seeing is that Tesla stock is pretty much tumbling down. We did have a big bounce, in the beginning of the year. I believe that, obviously in 2022, Tesla stock capitulated for a variety of different reasons that I covered on this channel. And then, of course, it got accelerated with the tax loss harvesting. However, things started getting bought back into Tesla in the beginning of the year. However, now things are kind of turning back downwards. And obviously, if we had the Federal Reserve hike by 25 basis points and we get more kind of sentiment from Jerome Powell saying, hey, going forward, we're probably going to hike, more. Well, obviously that's not going to be really good for the stock market, right? So one thing I told the Push and Profit private group recently is that, hey, when it comes to these, rate decision days, right, you want to treat these kind of like earnings, right? Kind of like an earnings for a stock, right? Where the actual announcement is like the earnings, right? However, the, sentiment or the speech from Jerome Powell is kind of like the guidance going forward, right? And the stock market is just as volatile for these days as it is for like an earnings day for a particular stock. So that's one thing that I mentioned to the Push and Profit private group. Now, the reason why I am very confident that the Federal Reserve is most likely going to hike rates is because the chart that you are staring at right here is inflation. And of course, yeah, inflation was way wilder back in the past. We haven't had inflation this high since like 1980, right? So we are at 40-year all-time highs. And although we are seeing inflation kind of cool off a bit, we're at this sticky area where, it's just not coming down. And that is the service inflation sector, right? Core inflation is just not going down. Now, if we take a look at the federal fund rate, we see that throughout history, in order for inflation to actually come down, the federal fund rate had to actually be raised above what the current level for inflation is. So we are getting close to that level, but not quite. We have to hike a little bit more for the federal fund rate to be above inflation, right? Because historically, every single time inflation has been risen to a high level, the only way, we were able to get it under control was by hiking rates. However, of course, we all know that hiking rates is very dangerous. It's very bad for the economy, right? That's when we enter into a possible recession. That's when we see stocks go down. That's when we see housing go down. That's when we pretty much see the everything of everything go down. Now, I know if we take a look at the QQQs recently, we've been shooting up. I mean, tech has been doing very well since the beginning of the year. However, this may just be a simple relief rally, right? Now, when it comes to, a bearish market, there are a ton of relief rallies that take place. That doesn't mean that the market is all of a sudden, full-time bullish, right? It's just like a part-time bullish. bullish, right? Now, if you take a look just, from the last year, we see that there were like over like 3 different relief rallies. I mean, where we rally up high, but then we come downwards. Now, tomorrow's meeting may put a little bit of an end to, this relief rally and continue us into this bearish, area. Now, I know a multitude of different times on this channel I have spoken outward that I am very bullish on Tesla, but I do want to remind you guys, right, that I am bullish for Tesla in the long term, meaning after this time period right here where there's a lot of volatility and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, right? I'm bullish on Tesla in the long term because if Tesla can really just survive during a recession, well, guess what? All the other, ICE manufacturing companies that are trying to produce EVs that are unprofitable, well, they would suffer in a recession. They may even have to cancel their models, right? Because you can't just continue being unprofitable during a recession while Tesla is profitable, which, yeah, it would suffer, but it would keep it alive. This way, when, we transition, because obviously the market is cyclical and it eventually does change, right, into a different direction, right, a different trend, well, Tesla is most likely going to be able to survive because their EV models are already profitable. And when the good times come, when people are flush with money again, everything's all good in the economy, well, I'm going to be very bullish on Tesla. So that's why oftentimes on this channel, I say, look, I'm bullish on Tesla in the long term because Tesla has pricing power. I mean, everything that Tesla is doing is set up so it's far more ahead of the competition. However, one of the things I say is that, I'm bearish on Tesla on the short term. Now, I know that may kind of confuse a lot of people, throw people off. How can you be bearish and bullish at the same time? You're just flip-flopping all over the place. No, right? Look, in the short duration of time, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? There's a lot of questionable things happening. A lot of questions, well, what if this happens and XYZ happens? What would happen here, right? So, of course, things are not looking good. We're not in favorable market conditions. Just put it simple like that, right? However, long term, 2030, yeah, I'm bullish on Tesla. So while Tesla is falling down in my long-term portfolio, what I'm going to be doing is dollar cost averaging and just simply adding more shares of Tesla as we go further down. However, in my trading account, because I do want to remind you guys, I invest long term, but I also trade short term. In my trading account, I'm not probably going to be buying calls on Tesla. Probably not going to be going long on Tesla shares. I'm probably going to be shorting Tesla or buying puts, or possibly not even trading Tesla, right? So just put it that way. So that's why, I just want to give you guys that reminder that, things may not look good and we really want to pay attention to this next meeting going forward. Now, if we take a look into the recent job openings report, we're seeing that job openings are really getting slashed down. Now, this is really interesting and important at the same time because the job openings, report, this is really like a leading indicator because first is job openings get cut and then, worse, that leads into unemployment rising. Now, at this very moment, unemployment is low, right? And job openings are softening. So, at this moment, someone doesn't have a job, but there's still a large amount of job openings. Well, guess what? They could get fired from their job. It's not the end of the world. It's not like they can't continue spending because they could get another job. However, once we have unemployment increase and job openings decrease, well, now that's a different story because when you get laid off or someone gets cut off, right? It's not like they could go and find another job. Well, job openings are scarce. And so this leading indicator is kind of showing us that, hey, we're kind of moving towards a recessionary scenario. So that's why I just wanted to make this quick video to give you guys a warning of what could possibly happen to Tesla stock in the near short term. Of course, bullish on the long term, but right now, things are not looking too good. With that being said, guys, make sure to also check out the links in the description of this video to join the Push and Profit private group if you guys want more insight on what I talk about with daily market trends. However, there is also a free option where I am now doing a weekly newsletter, right? It's completely free to sign up for that, so also check out for that in the description below. And also make sure to watch this next video right over here, and I'll see you guys on that next video.